Hello everyone, and welcome to the final part in this series in which I'm making apartments for occults. Each apartment is for a different occult, and I am using this shell challenge. It's by Jubiesims, and it was actually a contest on the Sims official Discord server. The deadline for the contest has already passed, but I knew that I wasn't going to make it in time, so I decided to just have fun with it, and this is the 5th apartment. And this specific apartment is going to be for a family of spellcasters, which I was very excited about, because I just really love magic and witches and all of that. And I really wanted to try and use some of the new stuff together with some stuff from Realm of Magic. And I really wanted to use these counters from that pack. They don't have upper counters, but I decided to use the ones from vampires since they match, and they both have the same wood tone as this beautiful arch from Realm of Magic, so I was very happy that this was working out well. It's a pretty small kitchen, but it has everything that you would need. It even has a coffee pot and some clutter. And I also really enjoyed having this backsplash with the axolotls and the lizards. This was from Lovestruck, but it matches this wallpaper from Life and Death, and I really liked that it allowed me to use the new wallpaper while also having some tile, because I just think that having wallpaper in a kitchen would be probably really messy. But anyway, that's the kitchen. I'm pretty happy with it. It's pretty small, and I had to scoot the counters into the window, but that worked perfectly since there's a roof on the other side. And then right next to it we have this bar. This is also from Realm of Magic, but the bar stools are actually from the Cozy Bistro kit, and I am using the new shelf from Life and Death and some of the bottles that are from that pack, as well as a wine bottle from that Cozy Bistro kit. One of the things that I was most excited about this apartment was this beautiful nook in which I decided to have the dining room. This actually changes color a couple of times. I cut out some of it, but you will still see how this was a whole process. I decided not to use the new couches because I had just used them in the apartment next door, which was for a reaper and a funeral home director. So that's a more modern apartment, and I just wanted them to be like really rich so they can afford to live in a castle, but they don't have this like traditional style that most of the other apartments have. And so I decided to still use mostly Realm of Magic and actually Discover University. That wasn't really a decision that I made consciously, but the wallpaper is from that pack. The couches are from there, as well as the fireplace, and even if I used mostly the new stuff and Realm of Magic, it just felt correct to have those because the colors felt like they matched. At the moment you can see that the flooring is from the base game, but I did get it back to the Life and Death wallpaper because I had it in all of the other rooms. I didn't change it everywhere, just in that area because I forgot. And then I changed it back and decided that it looked fine, so I decided to keep it. And yeah, the only other places that have a different flooring are the bathroom and the kitchen. They have this style from high school years, and I am also using a bunch of the new bathroom stuff. The toilet is from Vampires. I am using that toilet in every apartment. And the mirror is from Crystal Creations. I really liked this bathroom. I like the blue and the darker colors. I really wanted to use plenty of blue in this apartment because I thought that it looked nice with the oranges and the greens that I had in some of the other places. And yeah, I also have a very interesting hallway. It has a weird shape because of these turrets. I really wanted to have an office in this corner, and it's a decent size. You can have enough space for the desk and the bookshelves, as well as some magical clutter, and I also really wanted to have direct access through a ladder to the turret. And in the turret I have some stuff for the medium skill and a cauldron in the other turret. The other turret doesn't have a ladder because it would have needed to be in the dining room, and that wouldn't have looked nice, so I decided to just have the access through this ladder, and there's actually general access through the hallway outside of this apartment, so it's not complicated to get to that other turret. And yeah, I am using stuff from Realm of Magic and from some of the other occult packs in here. I decided to use this bar stool from Realm of Magic to have it as a small table instead of some seating, and I sized down this bar height table from that same pack and used it as a small stand. And now we're adding that séance table and some other clutter from Paranormal and from some of those other packs. I really wanted these spellcasters to have access to a séance table because spellcasters build that skill a lot faster. They are like naturally gifted, so I felt that it makes sense, and I wanted to include as much occult and supernatural stuff as I could. I have an apartment for a family of vampires, one for some werewolves, an apartment for a ghost, and that other one that I had mentioned that maybe they are into occult or maybe they are spellcasters, but mainly they are reapers and funeral directors. So they do have some special abilities from that, but maybe they also do magic, so that's why I have them next door to this apartment. And if they wanted to use the cauldron, I decided to have this turret as a shared area. You could probably lock some doors so that only those two households would have access to that. And speaking of which, I'm going to have these apartments uploaded to the gallery as a normal residential and a residential rental, in case you don't have for rent or you would rather have these as one whole block instead of different units. And I should have those up soon after I have this video uploaded, hopefully. And I will also have those linked down in the description. But back to this room, I'm just adding some more clutter, lots of magical items. I decided to add those bottles from Life and Death as well. They kind of look like potion bottles in some of the swatches, and so I decided to have them on top of that cabinet. I will also make sure to playtest this and check that everything works as it should. But yeah, I am using these kind of torches from Life and Death, and I'm adding the big spoon for the cauldron, this steampunk kind of broom, and also some spellbooks from Realm of Magic and that new skill book that came with the Reaper's Rewards event. The one that allows you to build, I think, fishing, cooking, and gourmet cooking. I felt that it made sense for it to be here, and it's also a different size, so I thought that it looked nice on this stack. I also added some more stacks of books, and if you see that for a while there was a case with a wand, that's because I decided to add that on top of the bookcase here in the office. I also added some brooms into this hallway so that they would look like they could be just normal brooms and not like a transportation device. Maybe they take off from the balcony so that it's a bit less obvious that they are witches. I like the idea of these neighbors all pretending to be regular humans, except for the ghost, because the ghost can't really hide their true form. And whenever anything weird happens, like there might be some strange noises or something that maybe the werewolves did, they always blame the ghost, and they're very invested in maintaining their identity secret, even if all of their neighbors are also occults. I just really like that idea. So all of the apartments downstairs have a basement in which it's very obvious that they are vampires or werewolves, but the rest of it just looks kind of gothic, or maybe kind of like the werewolf's apartment has a forest inspiration, and I really like that. This other apartment also has some inspiration from nature and the moon, and the tarot card that I included in the living room, it's the one that is framed, is I think the high spellcaster, and she also has some like moon faces. And I liked that you can see that these are spellcasters, but at the same time, if they were just whimsical, you wouldn't question it too much, I think. Of course, this child's bedroom has some interesting choices, such as these owl and skull wallpaper, and their toys, like their plushies, are a giant bat or a wampum, so it looks pretty fantastical. And they also have the moon gazing towel, so that's also kind of interesting looking, but they don't have like a cauldron in their kitchen. They have it upstairs behind the door, so I like that idea. And here in this primary bedroom we have the beautiful bed from Realm of Magic. This is such a large bed, so it's kind of hard to use it, and I'm glad that it fits in this room pretty well. That's also why the hallway is so small. I really wanted to have this bed have enough space around it, and I wanted to include some other stuff like a jewelry box and the gramophone, some seating also from Realm of Magic, and I just really like that I could have somewhere that you can summon Grim from this specific apartment. I think that I included the gramophone in most of these apartments, if not all of them. This painting is also kind of an interesting choice. It does look pretty much like it's leaning into fantasy, but I did try to not have them be too obviously magical. This other balcony is super small, and I just included some cat stuff and a chair, and then I remembered that I really wanted them to have a pet raven, so I had the perfect spot for it in the living space. I didn't know what to do with that corner, so I'm glad that I remembered before I just added a plant or whatever in there. And then we're working on this other balcony. I just have a grill and some seating as well as a plant. It's a pretty normal space, not very interesting. I think I had more activities in the other balcony, but there's plenty of activities on the rooftop. There's another grill, games table, there's a chess table in the hallway, and outside I also decided to have a greenhouse, the wishing well, the charging, I don't know what it's called, but it's like a stone, and you can add the crystals onto it so that they charge with the moon. I gave the werewolves that gemology table, so I was mainly thinking about them, but you could also add it into some of the other apartments or maybe the shared areas. I didn't feel every single corner of this build, so you could also have some space for that kind of thing, and you could even have it here in the greenhouse if you wanted. I'm pretty happy with how I chose to do this greenhouse, because these windows are new and they're very cool. They have this like rusted swatch and one that is pretty similar but that has some of the glass broken. And so I decided to alternate some of them, and then I copied and pasted them so that I wouldn't have to place each of them individually, because I was also having them at a custom height. So that saved me a lot of time. And I also included these new lights. They are supposed to be for above a bar, so that's why they are so massive. But I felt that maybe they could be for this space. I added a fence and some trim so that they looked like they were hanging from somewhere. And then I just added a bunch of planters and the crystal tree and just some other decorative plants. And I decided to have this flower arranging table next to these other it's just a shelf or something. It's just for clutter and decorations, but I think that it makes it look like this space is very functional and that you could have all sorts of magical plants or interesting plants, maybe some tropical plants or whatever, and I'm pretty happy with how this ended up looking. I think that the door from Discover University fits pretty well with the trim that I was using from Vampires, and it fits with the color scheme and the style. I do wish that this came with its own door in the same style, but I think that this was a good solution for that. And then I just added a bunch of ivy and some thorny twigs and stuff. Some of it is from the new pack, some of it is from Cottage Living. This wisteria is from there, and the other like thorny ivy is from Vampires. And I was very happy with it. I also forgot to mention that I just sketched some of the pathways with terrain paint, but that's going to look a lot better eventually. But I just wanted to be able to lay this out in a way that would make sense. I also used this rock from, well, it's technically a rock, but it looks like it's stone. It's from Realm of Magic and it's so cool, it kind of glows. I also added it inside of the greenhouse, but here I decided to have this so that I could have spaces for fountains, and some of them are actual fountains that have gameplay, others are decorative. There's one that just has plants. I also added the wishing well on top of one of these, and there's also some benches and a picnic table, but I added that later because I just forgot to do that. I was adding a bunch of the romantic garden stuff, so lots of the landscaping, those fountains, these sculptures. I'm very glad that they gave these for free some months ago, because this isn't a pack that I was thinking about buying, but since I have it, I have actually used it a lot. It's really great for this kind of build that looks more traditional, or maybe just if you want a build to have lots of colorful plants. Right now I have the white swatch, but then I decided to have some of them be yellow, and I think that they're just really cute. I really love especially the smaller, I think they're irises, but I love those. They are pretty small and they have some grass. And I think that the stone stuff is also very pretty. I used most of it here in this like playground area, since I had, I think, 3 households that had children. I wanted to have some stuff for kids, especially since this new pack came with the swings and the monkey bars. I also added the monkey bars from Romantic Garden, since I really like how they have some plants and like ivy. But yeah, this space also has some benches, and I added another games table because I really wanted to fill it up with stuff, and some of the other children's activities look a bit too contemporary. So I decided to also have some more seating. I also added that little snail statue from Get Together, and it's kind of like a signal for here's some fun stuff for kids. And I used these special fans from Get Together. It looks like it could be, you can use it just individually so that it looks like it's ruined. But I like that I was able to have that on the very edge of the lot, so I had some more space for all of these like playground equipment, and then I'm just adding some more landscaping and stuff from Romantic Garden, this fountain that I had already added. I also have the statue with the plants, and I also have those planters. They are like stone planters, they are very fancy. And then I'm just making sure that the terrain paint looks okay. I first added this layer of dirt, and then on top of it I added some really small stones. I had a very weird glitch when I reloaded, because instead of having the stones that I had added originally, it decided to apply a different texture to them, so I had some different stone. But I fixed that before I uploaded this to my own gallery. I'm going to make sure that this works before I upload it to the general gallery, but in the meantime I have already remembered that I wanted to add it's like a fairy house. It has a mushroom. It's very cute. I added that into the living space in the apartment, and then I'm just adding some grass and some of the flowers from the cottage living debug. And I also really wanted to have these tiny garden stones all around this build. I think that it makes it look a bit more it looks less flat, because the grass in this game is very flat. So you can see that I added those stones, and I added a pathway of stones just so that it wouldn't look so flat, because this is such a large lot that I felt that I struggled a bit with making it look more natural. I could have modified the terrain, but I think that since I had all of those stones and flooring and everything, maybe it would have looked a bit strange. Because stuff likes to float when you modify the height of the terrain and stuff. Now I have those stones that I had mentioned. I added some more dirt on top of them so that they look like they blended in. I think that it would have looked nice to add the smaller stones that I used for the pathway, but that takes so long, and I don't actually know if that would make this lot harder to use, because it would have more stuff, and the book stuff isn't meant to be used in this way, so it's not optimized. I don't know. But I also decided to have this small graveyard in the front, as well as a crypt here in the corner. That's just in case you would like to add some of your own headstones and urns or whatever. I also added some tombstones into the cemetery portion, but of course you could get rid of those and add your own. But yeah, I just decided to connect that to the rest of these, and I also ended up fencing in that cemetery using the debug fences from vampires, because I also wanted them to be pretty near the edge of the lot. And I hope it looks okay. I kind of struggled because I felt that this castle looked very small. I have it on the new world, in that section where there's this old mansion, and for some reason this castle looks really tiny. I don't know if it's because the turrets are kind of smaller and the shape is kind of weird because it's a shell challenge, so it's weird. But yeah, for some reason I feel that this castle looks pretty small next to the other buildings in this area of the world. Maybe those are just like big. Yeah, I think that some of even the starter homes, they use medium or tall wall height. I think we are arriving to the end of the video. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. You can also check out the other apartments in this series. I will have a playlist with all of those linked down in the description. Thank you again so very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye everyone.